The episode begins with Homer taking Bart and Milhouse to the movies. After purchasing the tickets and leaving them both in line to join the session, he decides to head to the food court. Not having eaten properly, Homer starts to feel bad and ends up stopping at a shop in the mall that sells gym equipment. He's persuaded to buy a cutting-edge treadmill fully equipped with a TV and programmed to cheer him up as he runs on it. When he sees the price, Homer loses his enthusiasm, but the seller makes another offer and Homer ends up agreeing to buy the equipment. Upon leaving the cinema, Bart runs into some bullies who sarcastically ask how the movie was. He replies sarcastically, but Milhouse shows up all decked out with the theme of the movie and the bullies laugh at him. Dolph suggests they will see a remake of the horror movie. Shauna tells her boyfriend Jimbo not to expect her to go with them. Jimbo explains that they need to watch horror movies to know what to do in dangerous situations. Shauna refuses in the same way. I'm not going to see any of those movies. So Jimbo decides to find someone to date, someone who doesn't pose a threat. He looks at Milhouse, but Shauna refuses because she doesn't want to go with someone she's embarrassed about. So she chooses Bart, and Jimbo starts evaluating him. Afterward, he threatens Bart and allows Shauna to accompany him during the film. Shauna decides to leave early. In the end, the two go to a stall where the vendor tries to flirt with Shauna. Bart threatens the salesman by telling him who his boyfriend is, and the salesman quickly returns to work. Meanwhile, Bart fights with Shauna, telling her not to think about cheating on Jimbo. She's thinking of cheating on Jimbo. She replies that she doesn't even care about him because she hadn't noticed the braid in his hair either. Afterwards, she shows her braid to Bart, who makes a comment that leaves her surprised. The two are talking but get interrupted by some youths who arrive. Homer also shows up with his brand new treadmill to pick up Bart before leaving, though Jimbo warns him that the next day there will be a new girl to date, as he has other plans with his buddies. Shauna hugs Bart and tells him they'll figure out something to do. In another scene, Homer is on his new treadmill when Lisa shows up and shows him that it's possible to stream TV shows wirelessly. He becomes obsessed with watching an old TV program on the treadmill. After finishing the first episode, he puts a chair on the treadmill so he can keep watching the show comfortably. During their meeting, Shauna and Bart are selling some items in a shop when she decides to grab one and slip it into her pocket. She asks Bart to get out of there as fast as possible, but when they cross the store's threshold, the alarm goes off. But when they cross the store's door, the alarm sounds, and a security guard comes up asking them to search their bag. Bart remembers Jimbo's threat. But hey! I stole this. The security guard decides to take him and Shauna away. She waits until Bart drops a bomb in the room where they were and manages to escape from there. The two of them run away together. What could a girl have that I? Then she decides to thank him by lifting her blouse and giving Bart a kiss on the cheek, leaving him mesmerized as she walks away and leaves him behind. Bart is still paralyzed by the previous events, and Marge comments that he didn't even touch his food. His grandfather offers him stickfish, and Bart gets nervous. Homer decides to get back on the treadmill. Marge comments on that, saying he's been exercising a lot, yet he remains the same. She says she shouldn't believe anything Homer says. He recalls when Homer was still a baby and asked what was behind the wall, to which Homer responded with the word, mother. In the attic, Homer is still on the treadmill, settled in the chair he placed to watch his favorite old show. Marge comes in and quarrels with him about utilizing the pricey treadmill just to watch TV. Homer attempts to rationalize why he's watching the show, but Marge insists that he either uses the treadmill or returns it to her. They start to argue. The conflict between the treadmill and the TV persists until Marge decides to leave. Bart is alone when the boys show up, and Jimbo commends him for doing well sticking with his girlfriend. They kiss goodbye and Jimbo departs, leaving Shauna with Bart. She asks Bart what he desires, trying to make him say that he wants to push her into a puddle and take off. But he maintains that he must be loyal to Jimbo because he had purchased a lot of gum for him. He starts by saying that she deserves someone better, and she's glad he finally cares about her, inviting him to leave. Then suddenly Jimbo appears, and she gets distracted, playing with her hair. Jimbo says he forgot to say goodbye to her, and as they kiss, she strokes Bart's hair. At home, Homer is still excitedly watching his show, thinking the new episode will answer some of his questions. That's when Marge comes in. Marge replies that everyone is out and Maggie is sleeping. An excited Homer asks her to wait another 104 hours. He's stressed out by the lack of interest and leaves, slamming the door. Bart and Shauna start doing several shows together, acting as lovers. At one point, they're in a pool and they passionately kiss. Jimbo arrives just in time and accuses him of showing no respect. Bart defends himself, stating it's hard to respect someone who wears a wool hat to the pool. Jimbo takes off his hat, revealing that he's bald on top, which makes Bart start to laugh and mock him. The goons grabbed Bart so Jimbo could beat him up, but the lifeguard got everyone's attention by declaring rough play was not allowed. After a chat with the lifeguard, everyone noticed that Bart had managed to slip away. He decided to head back to the hidden house, cautiously taking each step until he made it home and saw all the goons hiding out in his backyard. At that point, Marge came out to the neighboring house and mentioned that Bart hadn't made it home yet, but they could stay if they wanted and wait for him. Meanwhile, Bart was in hiding and Shauna showed up to help him. However, Bart, full of rage, told her to go back to Jimbo. Shauna reminded him of his own words about deserving someone better. Bart decided to take Shauna somewhere else. While the goons were helping Marge, Bart chose to take Shauna to the comic book shop. After she insulted the store owner, she called the thugs and let them know that Bart and Shauna were in the store. The store owner kicked them out. Meanwhile, at home, Homer gathers his friends in the living room to discuss the show they're watching and solve some mysteries since everyone had already seen it. When they start chatting about what happened, Homer interrupts by saying that he's still in season 3 and doesn't want spoilers. At that moment, Marge arrives asking them to turn down the noise because she is trying to put Maggie to sleep. Homer starts talking about the show with Maggie and Marge ends up revealing everything that happens on the show to Homer, which leaves him upset. She says it will now be a disappointment for her in her little house. The friends who are still in the room, surprised, start talking about the discussion. Meanwhile, Bart and Shauna are hiding in the treehouse. To Bart's surprise, Lisa shows up at the treehouse and asks what they're doing there. Bart explains that they're hiding. Lisa explains that she's been following his situation from afar and suggests that maybe she can help Shauna understand about her boyfriend Jimbo and the difference between him and Bart. However, at that moment, Jimbo arrives at the treehouse and Lisa starts to say that Shauna shouldn't choose either of them, but rather choose herself. Shauna agrees with her. As they begin to leave, Jimbo prevents Bart from leaving, but ends up not knowing what to do with him inside the house. However, Homer is still angry that Marge told him about his favorite show. She tries to do something to please Homer. He soon sees Jimbo holding Bart by the legs outside the treehouse, but he just closes the window, ignoring the scene and going to bed with Marge to reconcile. And so ends the recap of today's episode. If you liked it, don't forget to leave your like and comment on what the next episode should be. See you in the next videos.